Gerdeman joining us from the Go Zone. Please join him there for the best in Ohio State football as the Buckeyes prepare, I should say, for the USC Trojans. Your thoughts about USC? Have you seen them play much? Sam Darnold, obviously the guy that everybody knows about, who had a somewhat disappointing turnover-filled season. If you add up the fumbles and the interceptions, they total 20. But in most of the big games, he did have a rough outing, as did the entire team at Notre Dame. He pulled through this team in a number of difficult situations, and Ronald Jones is an explosive back. I actually think, off the top of my head, that this may be the best running back matchup with J.K. Dobbins and Mike Weber, to a certain extent, taking on Ronald Jones. USC and Ohio State, the recruiting rankings have shown us that this will be a talent-laden matchup.
Yeah, and I think that's what I'm looking forward to seeing is USC's outside guys against Ohio State's corners, and see how they match up with Denzel Ward. Looking at, I've seen a little bit of USC this year. Sam Darnold, just looking at his numbers with the interceptions earlier in the year, but I think in his last 7 games he has maybe 3 or 4 interceptions. So he's cleaned that up. But and maybe it took him a little while to get over the hype that he was receiving for the entire offseason. Ronald Jones, we've seen running backs special running backs can give Ohio State trouble if there's a passing threat that can also occupy the defense, which USC has. Whereas, like against Wisconsin, they don't have that fear of the quarterback, so they shut Jonathan Taylor down. They did very well against Saquon Barkley. So they have the capability of making life really difficult for the running back. But the safeties could be a concern for Ohio State, getting beat deep, or you just over the middle. They've had issues at times this year. They're fairly solid, but if there's a weak spot in the secondary, it would be the safeties and maybe Kendall Sheffield, who is their third corner, who rotates and starts. And we've seen the linebackers have trouble all year in pass coverage, so that will also be an issue because USC can throw the ball over the middle and get some guys in coverage, and Ronald Jones or tight ends, and just pose a problem. And so I think Ohio State will focus a lot on that. In terms of the Ohio State offense, I expect them to be able to run the ball. With J.K. Dobbins and, like you said, Mike Weber. It's going to be interesting to see what Mike Weber does after this season, because will he want to come back and pretty much do the same thing, play behind J.K. Dobbins? So this might be one of those things where he's trying to maybe audition for the NFL, and I think J.T. Barrett's knee is going to be fine, so he'll carry the ball. But he may not need to carry the ball that much because USC also gives up some yards through the air. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is a little bit of a shootout. I think Ohio State might be able to control the ball more, and maybe come that fourth quarter, just put it on the USC defensive line and let the Ohio State offensive line sort of salt things away.
Jack Jones and Iman Marshall, they call him Biggie Marshall, at the corner positions for USC. Ohio State fans might be familiar with the recruitment of Iman Marshall, who was supposed to go to Michigan and then at the last minute decided to opt for USC. Porter Gustin has been down most of the later portion of the season, probably USC's linebacker, although Cam Smith gets most of the attention, had a 3-interception game last year against Utah, but Porter Gustin, a big loss for USC. Deontay Burnett, the guy that really flashed in the Rose Bowl against Penn State, had 3 touchdown receptions against the Nittany Lions last year. Still USC's leading receiver this year. Michael Pittman and Tyler Vaughn's also young players that had an exceptional seasons as the 2 and 3 guys in the wide receiver lineup for the Trojans.